Maybe because I was a little bit mopey too. I always liked King Crimson, the band, and their music. I thought that they had sort of language paintings in their lyrics. And it amused me to listen to them and imagine picturesque things. And they had such control over the resonance and quality of music, I thought. You know, it was inspiring, but it was also something you could let go and just immerse yourself in. Because I was sort of mopey, even on the level that wasn't traumatized by the slaughtering attack that befell me in grade school. It excited me when they retired for a while and then seemed to snap out of it. They came importing again with a charismatic flair for dance mosaics. It started with the League of Gentlemen, which was a spin-off band, but it was fun to dance to the League of Gentlemen in ways that King Crimson was difficult to dance to. It's not that I never did, but most of their early percolations, if you will, were finger dances on the keys. There was a lot of impresario work. It was eloquent music and articulate. Listening to the melody lines and the riffs was almost like hearing a philosophical statement. And you would understand it and then try to put on your thinking cap and translate it from music into thinkings. I've always been suspicious of religion and magic, but it was clear that the evocations of feeling that was powerful in some of their best art was also ingrained with rational thought. So you got poetry, word paintings, feelings and evocations, and these technically fascinating forms of self-expression. Oh, and don't let me forget the heart and soul of their their melodic sensibilities. There were people who felt similar to me. One guy climbed up a tree to see them. Another said they were conceivably what the Beatles might have been had the Beatles not regressed into Diddyland. I think that there's some truth that there was energy from Abbey Roads in the feelings of King Crimson. An overlooked area of their career was when it, I guess, started to become tense between the partnership of the early years that was so effective for a while. And that was the song Formentera Lady. Formentera Lady is a much better song than it's given credit for being. It had the raw elements on the record. It could have been produced more profoundly, but I think the way they angled towards spare recitations of the ensembles that they brought along with them in those days contrasted with the fulfillingness of some of their music in such a way that Formateur a Lady seems consciously spare. And this was something that makes sense in the tensions that must have been developing between their word painter and their guitarist, who was the musical magnet that pulled all of the things together. Formateur a Lady is poetic, and it has a musical refrain that makes it a song. And I think the language that the lyricist brought started to become a barrier for the musical staff of the ensemble. You can hear the sirens and the struggle of Odysseus in the sailor's tale that comes afterwards. It's an enchanting woman's voice that would bear comparison with the woman's voice in Dark Side of the Moon, I suppose, if you were forced to make a comparison between two bands, one that I loved and immersed myself in, and the other that I perilously avoided. There are similarities between Have a Cigar and Lament, too, if you want to belabor the topic of British prog rock. I don't really see that much in common between them. Raymond Geiger used to say that Pink Floyd sounded like they were yawning when they sang. I never noticed that until he said that. I thought that the wail on Dark Side of the Moon was good, but it doesn't quite compare to the sirens on Sailor's Tale for me. I only think of that now in my latter day reflections. When I saw them on the Starless and Bible Black tour, I was indeed taken by them. It was a profoundly disturbing, enveloping, and deeply sustaining moment in my life. It's always been difficult for me that I wasn't allowed to go to see Selling by the Pounds tour of Genesis 2 days later. But I've accepted that with grace. And my mother, who made that decision, made it up to me by allowing me to go to Ottawa to see a Picasso exhibit in the musical box. And of course, much of the concert is now visible online. It's probably, in some surreal way, important that it happened the way it did. Red was something of a turn-off for me at first because I knew that they had retired. And it seemed darkly final. USA had its moments. The Young Person's Guide to King Crimson was grounds for true celebration. I even called William Wattenmaker and told him about it. No, I called him about USA. I take that back. 3616442, I believe was the number. Sorry about that, Willie. Hope you don't get any phony phone calls. And when they came back with discipline, I was excited. It was around the time of 3 Mile Island, I think. I'm not really sure. But I heard that they were brewing up something with someone named Ballou who was with Zappa, and I made some inquiries. I also hitchhiked to St. Louis to hear Fripp's Human Contact tour, which was exciting and good music, and had a magnetic personality. He was very alive and vibrant in those days. He probably still is. I got to see my grandparents, and we had the time of our lives. Woo! Did we have a nice time. So I got to see King Crimson's Discipline tour on a number of different occasions. Tower Theater a couple of times, Carnegie Mellon University. Mother made me skip Oberlin. She was mad that I was going around watching King Crimson again. She came home one day and found me crying, and she said, "What's the matter, Jim?" I said, "King Crimson broke up." She was like, clucked her tongue and shooed me. And Pittsburgh, Carnegie Mellon University. I asked Mr. Fripp if he would make a dream come true. I had written a song. He said it's unlikely because he's very busy. I said also comes to the face of persistence. And he said, "Persist, young man, persist." And the day came when I played it for one of the people at Claymont, and when I hit the last note, a moment of irresolution, only discernible as the last note to someone wise, to the style that influenced me. The door in the kitchen peeped open into the dining room, and Robert looked in with a wink. He made a dream come true without my being aware that the dream was coming true, which was nice. He seemed like an awfully nice person, just an awfully nice person. Beat I saw, but it started to turn me off, and I gave the postcard Fripp sent me to Blue, and that caused an awful lot of trouble. Just an awfully lot of trouble. The Ever Perfect Pair was okay. I started to get me weirded out then. So I was deaf by the time I tried to listen to Thrack, but it didn't really. I hear that they were just went into bog blasts. I don't want to know about them anymore. I give up on them. But I did a painting of the uh, Starless and Bible Black tour, which is a good painting. You can see where it was from my imagination. I didn't use any models from the concert or anything like that. It was purely from my memory, I should say. It's a memory painting. But I had a visitor who said, after hearing some of the music and looking at some of the films, that I did not use any films for it. He looked back and forth at the painting. He said, "I can see it." And that's true. You can see what I experienced in the painting. It's the shadow from the real experience. It's not technically perfect, but it sure is lively. Woo, that's a good painting. And I remember enough about why I was motivated to enjoy them, that they have an unusual place in my one magic word, appreciation.